Oh, that's interest rate 6.43. That's the formula that works well with the combination. Both are contact on that.
I'll read about it. If it was made out of it, I'll read about it. But if you find out what you're and for people to do it, I'm going to get my short story to you.
Okay.
I'm sorry,
And you can tell I'm just a minute.
I'm probably sure about the surgery.
But it works well with the magnesium hydroxide nano platelets and the deer repellent. Those three work.
Okay, that's what Phil
This is one part of that system. Well, not in the fertilizer.
Check 1, 2, 3. Check 1, 2, 3. Check 1 2 3. Check 1 2 3.
Well, not- You know myself, you know, you know, the
When people say they take question about the stuff that she knows. I have posted it. That, everything. You know, without even talking on it. We already do that, you know.
They go off the dark.
Well, the fact is, I'm not sure if you are just saying that they should have a capability, but the fact that even I have more than you, that what they are used to. Yeah, that's not much.
Well, see, that's it. We would say, Alan, they really got. We didn't want to have it. We didn't want
That doesn't fit there. I didn't bring it into my, I can see it.
I got some food.
I'm sorry, I'm still not sure.
I believe it's far from here.
I'm a phone person now, maybe I'm holding.
If you do the right, I got some good.
That situation that I don't want to do it. And we said, because I think, I mean, he's not, and he's found very much, he's trying to do it.
What?
But he's trying to,
Right now, he said.
Looking to the rain. Wasn't supposed to be raining.
It hit us at the state line.
Oh, yeah?
I didn't recognize it.
Wow. I like it, man.
This is Debbie Playing Seed. He just looked at that. Yeah. Debbie asked me what that was. I said, that's Luke Plant 643. You know how long it took me to say that?
I know.
Oh, my God.
I still call it butt sauce. Yeah, Scotty and I talked about that. I mean, we've got the ingredient list, but man, you don't want to do it at your house. I know that much.
No, we'll have you. I'll do the network. You do the work. I'll do the network, you do the real work. Well, good. I work hard at anything, it's network. And so that's what I like about these Christian organizations. So Jesus recruited fishermen first, and they were network. But he taught them how to catch people instead of fish. Well, am I wrong? I got a woman said I was right early this morning, just said it.
Let it be known. Let it be.
I was on the way. It makes me feel better. So the people out here, Dr. Brandon,
We can read the slides.
we, I was gonna say, we just don't have to wing something, but I say he ain't winging nothing, this man does.
No, I know just a little bit dangerous.
David, I am not a bad network. I meet people like this fella and introduce them to other stuff, like Carl. Now, Carl's character.
Carl knows a lot about a lot.
Now, I'm gonna tell you this too, Carl, if he put on overalls, he looks like a bootlegger. Well, he's not a bootlegger, he's a moonshiner,
There you
and he gets fulfilled when I call him a bootlegger. Well, depending on how you do it, if you don't pay up for Sam, it's still.
I'm in trouble, but
We don't tell them, hey, look, the bootlegger's code is, we don't tell them. Give our country time. Is it illegal? No, that goes too close. It always happens. Okay, if you look at the, yeah, the historical. Last time the country said your name in the mission.
Can you see me, Allie? You hear me?
Yes, yes.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah. You can hear me okay? Everything's good?
Yeah. Let's crank it up a little bit.
And then when you shared the screen, did you make sure to choose the audio?
How's that? You should be seeing the screen share. Can you see it?
I see that it's great to have you here.
Yep, that's it.
I need the hotspot.
All right, I think we're good to go.
Here, I'm gonna turn my video off briefly just for my Wi-Fi. All right. When you set it up to share the screen, did you select on the lower right-hand corner to also share audio?
Let me go do that.
That way, when it plays the video that I recorded, it should even play it for the people on the call. Last time it didn't play it. And I'll try to interrupt this time if it's not playing it. It was just me and one other person last time, so I wasn't super concerned. But
Where did you say that is? Is that under settings?
nope. So go back like you're going to share the screen and click share screen.
Okay.
And when it gives you that new screen and it asks you what screens to share on the left, before you approve everything on the far right lower corner, there is something about sharing the audio.
Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing and open it back up. So share screen. Also, oh, I see it. Also share.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, when I tell it to share audio, it disables my mic. So I think I'll have to briefly stop the presentation, stop sharing the presentation, and then right before your video plays, I'll stop the share, reshare, and share the audio.
Okay.
I think that'll work.
I just realized that I never actually sent you the most updated one.
Yeah.
I've
Oh,
had
you
a crazy busy morning. Do you have a moment or do you want to use the one that's right there?
Okay, this is the one you sent the other day,
Yeah.
Tuesday. Do you want to do the updated one?
If you've got a moment to do it, I'll send it over to you. I just don't want to throw your life off.
Email it. You can email it to my newwater.com.
Yeah. Okay, I sent that. Sorry about that.
That's good.
I have had more meetings in the last 48 hours. All good things, but it brings my brain too many different directions.
Okay, got it.
Great. Thank you so much. One thing I recommend today is that when we break for lunch with the digital group, because we're gonna have so many more people on the digital group today, let's try to set a specific time when everybody comes back, because we haven't really figured out the best way to handle this intermission. So I think the best way to do that, at least for today, is say lunch is going to be complete. We're going to start the presentation again at 12:30. Let's make sure we let them know that. But I'm going to let you guys base the time off of when you actually end the first part of the presentation and break for lunch.
Okay. Roger that, as Buck would say.
And I believe they intend on still taking everybody on the digital Zoom out to the crops and everything, right?
It's raining like crazy here, so we may have to forego that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, I
once
guess.
we might could just stand on the patio and point.
Yeah, well, that works. I think everybody would understand that.
Yeah. All right.
Awesome. All
All right.
right, well,
Well,
thank you.
we'll shortly. I'm gonna mute everything, and we'll unmute when we start.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Allie.
Good day, Derek. And is that Zeke? And
Yes.
I'm Allie. I'm working with the gentleman over at AgriHarvest, and they're just getting ready for their presentation. Do either of you need any help with preparing for being part of the Zoom call today?
No, I think we got it.
Wonderful. Did they give you a breakdown about how lunchtime works on the Zoom call? Okay, so they're going to have a big presentation, and then they typically go out and take us along with them to go see the farm. But it's raining there today, so I don't think they're going to be going very far. So we'll be part of that conversation. And then when they break to have lunch, we usually have been having people just step off of the Zoom call during that time. Either you can either just mute yourself and come back, or you can just come back at that exact time with the same link. But they're going to let us know what time they're going to be coming back from lunch at, since it kind of differs every day that they do these presentations. And all these things will be part of the actual presentation. I think they're looking for something in their conversation that they're having right now. So, sorry that they're just flipping through it for you. Okay, I think they're getting ready to start now. They should be unmuting in just a moment.
Well, we got a bunch of people in here.
Yeah, you should, because I have a room full of people.
Growing. And we haven't even got started. We'll start here in about 2 minutes.
Thank you.
Good. I don't know what that was. I hope that doesn't happen again.
Did you just start resharing the screen again?
What's that, Allie?
Did you just start resharing the screen again?
Yeah, are you seeing it?
Yeah, one of the options, like over where we talked about the audio option, there's an option that also says something about turning off the mirroring effect, which is what I just saw happen there.
All right, I'm gonna, hmm.
I think you have it selected on your screen sharing to also share your Zoom stuff, like the visual of the Zoom, which is fine as long as you keep it out to the side there.
Hey, I'll try that. I don't know.
It's in the same settings area when you go to share the screen again. It's one option that says something about sharing Zoom screens as well. Make sure that's not clicked for this particular type of meeting.
Allie, is that better?
We're still seeing your Zooms, your app source.
Is that better?
Is everybody seeing the presentation okay right now?
Yeah, I turned the mirror on. Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you. I know they're having a little bit of a rain delay there on site today, so thank you for your patience.
You guys want to find a seat? We'll get started. My name is Robert Brandon. I serve as Executive Director and the Farm Manager here at New Water Farms. This is your first time here, and it's also not just your first time, but welcome. We're glad you're here, coming out on a rainy day. Just a couple of housekeeping things. If you need the restroom, it's down the hallway there and to your left. We've got coffee and water out here. We'll be serving lunch up to you as well. And we've got about 6 or 7 folks on the Zoom joining us from around the globe. So happy to have those. So it's a larger crowd than what you see here, and various backgrounds and interests and levels of curiosity, I would say. And so, but we welcome everyone here. I'm going to turn it over to Scotty Mangum here to do the major presentation. But Allie this morning, she's down in Mexico, I guess. Belize. I thought she moved.
Yeah, I'm back in Belize.
So she wrote this beautiful prayer this morning for us, and I asked her if it's okay to share it, and she said absolutely. And she says she starts out with, she says, the seeds that we plant to build community are just as sacred as the seeds we plant in the ground. And she says, thank you all for showing up in this conversation. Here's her prayer, and we're going to open us with this. She said, Creator of all growth and goodness, we thank you for this new day and for the opportunity to work together. Bless our minds with clarity, our hands with purpose, and our hearts with unity. May the work we do today bring nourishment to the land, prosperity to the people, and honor to the gifts you've entrusted us with. Guide our decisions so that every seed we plant, both in soil and in spirit, bears lasting fruit. Amen. Couldn't think of a better prayer for us today. So, Scotty, you want to take it away? Good morning, everyone. How y'all doing? Good to see all these smiling faces here this morning on a dreary day. I bet the sun's shining where Allie's at.
Every day.
So, great to have everyone here this morning. I'll go ahead and, as you can see on the screen, today we will share information our farmers are using in their transition to healthier farming practices, benefiting farms, families, and communities. The agri-harvest system, that's what we want to talk about. It's a network of farmers and growers for healthier crops and more plentiful yields. Agri-Harvest Solutions LLC is operated by farmers, growers, and business people invested in the health and well-being of the agricultural industry in the U.S. This is a great philosophy. See a need, fill a need. From firsthand experience, we have witnessed farmers struggling with many problems. Among those are nutrient density, insect, bacteria, molds, regulations, eradications, weather events. I myself would like to also add to that financial issues that farmers are facing nowadays. A lot of things are playing into agriculture these days. You know, the price of everything keeps going up. Just go buy a gallon of milk and you'll understand that part of it. So these fertilizers and things are going to continue to go up. Your chemicals are going to continue to go up. And we're trying to come up with a better way to do that, a more economical way to help people to grow crops, good, healthy crops, feed people. We are working on that every day. Happier farms, healthier yields. We believe in developing a 360-degree approach that supports the wellness of American farmers and their produce. We mix Plentiful Harvest, which is a magnesium-based product that we represent, a NutriPlant AG643, and a deer repellent. This is for row crop stuff, or I'm going to the deer repellent here. The deer repellent is for these row crops. Here in Alabama, we have a major problem with deer, and they will wipe out in an acre of peas a night if you don't do something. So we have to try everything that we can, and over the years we've tried a lot of things, from human hair to pie pans to everything. Anyway, so we have actually found something that works much better for deer and rabbit repellent here that we've been testing. The benefits we've seen: fewer insects, fewer animals, less bacterial problems, less mold challenges, higher yields, increased resilience to heat, drought, and overwatering. Plants are more supple and stronger immunity system. I want to get into an example here right quick of what our product combination can do these were sunflowers that we tested about 2 years ago now. You can see these sunflowers were all planted at the same time. The difference in this is we treated the seeds with the magnesium, we treated the seeds, and then we watered them in. When they first sprouted, we watered them in with magnesium. These were just field planted. So if you'll look here, you can see they're about 14 and a half, maybe 15 inches. Where this plant is at about 27 inches with a bloom on it. You can see these bloom pods here on these other plants. These are all the same age plants. I need to make sure everyone understands that. Planted on the same day. So that's how we're able to get more rapid growth using this system that we are developing in our plants. Yes, they're actually one row apart from each other. So yeah, all these were planted on my farm in our test plot. We tested 57 different varieties of cut flower to test seed against seed from we did a drench on the seeds, moistened the seeds, and we were trying to find out how much faster we could get those seeds to germinate versus just planting them. So we soaked them for 24 hours in a magnesium mixture, and then we planted them where these were just straight out of the bag. You can see, I mean, they're fertilized exactly the same, but the magnesium is kind of the difference here on the growth in these plants.
Hey, Scotty, my muscadines, matter of fact, that I took some pictures on, the purple ones that I sprayed, the big purple ones, have produced 4 times this year. There's grapes still on the vine today. They normally are done in August, September. They produce grapes 4 times.
So for everyone who's watching, Mr. Parker, Carl had done some testing on muscadines, the purple muscadines, and he's saying that he's had 4 times the yield off the.
Well, they reproduce 4 times.
They've reproduced 4 times.
So they got 4 harvests.
In August, and then we started picking, all of a sudden they started blooming again and coming back again, and get 4 times. There's muscadines on right now, and it froze last week.
That's what we find in these pepper plants that we test, these tomato plants that we test. As we do our testing, we notice that these bloom clusters begin to form earlier than normal. Then, as the plants produce, the bloom clusters run. So here we have, all right, so I don't know if anybody knows anything about sunflowers, but sunflowers, you're going to get 1 seed head out of a sunflower. That's it. I don't have any pictures on it here, but a couple of these I had 2 seed heads come up on. So I'm having a double sunflower off of one plant. That's very rare. That's a genetic anomaly in nature, but we're seeing it more often using this product. We're noticing that with what we noticed. I'll use this as an example. We'll have some pictures, but we noticed that it'll bloom here, and then we'll start getting fruit, and then we'll have bloom clusters that'll show up all the way down the stem of the plant. And that's where we have this continuous bloom that happens with these plants that we don't see that when we're just using anything else or just naturally growing these plants and just using regular fertilizers. We do not see the increase in these yields, and it's due to this magnesium mixture that we're doing here with this. The 643 to us is the greatest thing since sliced bread, because what it does is it allows us to do one application. That's one tractor passing through a field versus 2 or 3 applications where you're spending fuel. It's all about money when it comes to farming. And don't forget this term. I want everyone to get familiar with this term. You know, big pharma? Well, there's big ag. So you guys remember big ag, because we're going to come back to that. All right, let's move on. You can get great time for questions. Yes, we did. So these, the other one, the one on this side, were planted. They were sown, and the other one were planted in rows.
Okay,
Yes,
hey, Scotty, can you repeat the questions when you get them in?
yes.
that-
The question
Thank you.
was on the previous. You want to bring that picture back? So I can talk about it?
Right.
Yeah, the question was how were these 2 planted on the left? Scotty said they were more broadcast, and then the one on the right it's more sown. Yep. All right. Let's do this real quick. I know everybody's got to have a bunch of questions about all this. Let's move down, and we'll have a Q&A here in a little bit, and that's usually what takes the longest. So let us move on past what we got to do, and we'll get into those questions. But yes, great question. These were broadcast. These were planted in row, but we still dropped the seeds, so it didn't matter. You know, it's the same on the same day. Right. Yeah, we don't. We typically broadcast sunflowers. We don't normally row plant sunflowers. So for us, we don't harvest sunflowers. We just do it for the beauty of them. And these I don't plant a lot of sunflowers anymore. We usually use them as cover crops sometimes too. But anyway, we yeah, we sowed it, we broadcast this, we row planted those, and that's why you're seeing that. But I want you to look at the difference in the leaf sizes. See those leaves? This is these. You know, it's amazing to see this. That's right. Absolutely. Go ahead. Yeah, observation was made between the two of the health and size of the leaf. It definitely indicates more chlorophyll and photosynthesis from the nutrient uptake. All right, let's move on. Let me parenthetically to say that's amazing to hear Scotty admit that the sunflower has cover crop benefits. He's a new fifth generation farmer, conventional, but now he sees the benefit of cover crops and things like sunflowers for the the pollinators. So this guy.
Bravo, good job.
We're going to take a real quick tech break here to get this so to make sure the folks can hear the audio. So hang on one second.
And then just remember that it mutes your mic, so you'll have to come back at the end before anybody starts talking. Good day, everyone. I'm Allie Baumeister. My family and I operate an independent humanitarian volunteer group that we call the Enduring Empathy Project. Basically, we ask how can we help to anyone who shows up with a concern, a question, or a challenge. While much of our time is focused in Central America, where we travel between jungle villages supporting people with pain and injuries, we have also had hundreds of conversations with farmers around the world about everything from their health issues to difficulties with their farm. Almost every farmer I've spoken to has an overlap of the same troubles. Their expenses of both time and money are high. Their revenue comes under various and sometimes unknown threats, and the wellness of their plants needs nearly constant attention. Many farmers have heard about the health concerns directly associated with what they spray on their crops, but without a clear path forward, they will repeatedly use those products until they find a better way. They will prioritize buying these products only because it's a system that they recognize and they know how to use, even if it doesn't support the majority of their long-term goals. Because farmers have to do whatever it takes to keep their yields consistent so they can accommodate their expenses throughout the seasons, and because they usually have sunk a lot of time and money on equipment and materials, making changes to their setup feels like an overwhelming challenge to many. My job has been to help them find a better way forward with a do what you can with what you have where you are perspective, and I try to step into their shoes and recognize the lived experiences of their day-to-day life. We focus on natural and locally available materials to replenish and stabilize the soil, and form solutions based on what individual farmers have tangible access to. We create customized approaches that help develop better balance in their farming practices. When I learned about the three-product system that this network is currently experimenting with, it piqued my interest, primarily because it is by farmers for farmers. It is addressing the needs of the soil and the plants and encouraging better immunity for the entire farm. And it can be fine-tuned to address unique challenges instead of pursuing outright eradication, which tends to be more expensive and causes a lot more problems. and it fits into my desire to support the wellness of farmers, families, and communities by offering practical guides for farming in a more responsible and plentiful manner without disrupting their routines or needing new equipment. Your farm is a complex and alive piece of the planet. It doesn't only bear your name, it bears the results of generations of farming activity, often where only one type of crop was present at a time. This form of farming is referred to as monoculture farming. And while it has been the backbone of America's farming industry, it's causing a lot of challenges for the farmers who use it, and for the environment around them. Because this type of farming depletes nutrients from the soil, we've done crop rotations, sprayed fertilizers and nutrients, we've met swarms of pests and imbalances, and primarily all of this is because we just don't have the biological components to help keep those factors in check. Through my research, I've discovered that plants which have a regular source of nutrients have a healthier immune system. Much like humans, having their health needs met is equal to having stronger health. With good health, these plants are capable of living more harmoniously and responding to biological threats in effective ways that keep these threats in greater balance. These plants also produce higher yields and healthier, more nutritious produce. So the question for me becomes, how do we create healthier farms while still utilizing systems that farmers understand, which are convenient, accessible, and will not only ultimately save them money, but will minimize their need for endless products and expenses or unhealthy temporary solutions? I believe this network is addressing this question head on. Utilizing the current practices most farms in America are already accustomed to, the agri-harvest system harnesses the immense benefits of magnesium hydroxide in nanoplatelet form, alongside NutriPlant 643 and deer repellent. It supplies a robust 360-degree support system to your plants. This setup aims to create better balance in your plants and soil. It allows for the use of your current equipment and protocols and decreases the need for harmful additives while increasing the 360-degree health of your pots, fields, and orchards. While we won't make promises that you'll never again have troubles, we do believe that by engaging with our network and utilizing these methods, you'll see a dramatic increase in the health, wellness, and yield of your plants. And we've got scientific results alongside actual real-life field studies to support this belief. The people here at New Water Farms are just one of many locations that have been testing this system. I'd like you to hear a bit from the people who manage their crops and develop their farming practices. They'll tell you what they've done in the past, how they've been supported and challenged by their old practices, and how the agri-harvest system is changing the lives of their plants and their produce.
It was really nice. That was actually digging though. You live next to yeah, so basically.
Can you hear me, Allie?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine.
I don't have any rooster calls, so sorry. Hey, I'm Robert again, New Water Farms. One thing I want to say to validate what Carl said and even validate what Scotty said, you can trust this guy. I've known him for almost a year and he's changed my life. But anyway, I did it. Scotty and I raised some heirloom corn this past summer, and I was just curious because it's non-GMO and an heirloom. Could I replant the seed, and how much would come up? You know, obviously, it's a question for us as we scale up. How expensive is our seed source going to be? Well, if we save enough back, it's going to be zero. So I did a big trial of 36 cells and done three ways: a control, just plant it in the soil. I did a water soak and a magnesium hydroxide soak, and it was maybe only 10 hours for the soaks. And unfortunately, I planted the control first to see if they would even come up. And just planting it in the soil, in the greenhouse, I had a controlled environment, potting soil. I had about a 78% germination rate, which I thought was pretty good because the bag said 80% of where I bought seed from, 78%. So, you got to plant that much more, right, to cover the non-germinating ones. So interesting on the water soaking it for about 10 hours, I had 69%. the magnesium hydroxide, 87% germination. It exceeded what the bag said. I was like, hey, this he might be right again. So what I've done now is I've expanded the trial and done 36 times 3, 108 in each category. But I did a 24-hour soak and a 48-hour soak. And I don't have all the results yet, but the magnesium obviously is outperforming all of them, especially on the 48-hour soak. At day 11, I'm up to over 50%. So in my 10 to 12 days, I feel like it's coming in fast. The other thing about it too is there's less variability I'm seeing between them. So with the magnesium soak, it's much more consistent in germination day and size. The control is, I had some this tall and I got some this tall. It's just all over the place. And so I think it's kind of interesting that we're testing it and what they're saying is true. But anyway, just as an aside. But just to tell you a little bit about New Water Farm. So this is a slideshow, just spots around. So we do a lot of cover cropping now. This was last spring. That was hairy fetch and some oats and some legumes. And so we're a red clay state, obviously, a lot of red clay here. Really shallow soils, particularly on this site. We're on a peninsula, but if you look, the road you came down is the crown. So all the great soil is out there in the bottom of the lake somewhere. And so when we started here about 10, 12 years ago, our gardening soils were maybe an inch at the most. I mean, it was, you scratch it and you're in red clay. And so we've rebuilt and built up our soils with a lot of composting and adding, gone to minimum or no till, and we're switching over to regenerative practices, and we're totally in our vegetable production, trying to get that way in our fruiting production. But I'll share more with that later. But we started in 2011, right after the tornadoes, as a missionary training center was the plan. And there was a group here that was leaving before the tornado, and that kind of sealed the deal for them to leave. And it was an adult mentally challenged camp, week-long camp. And this building survived, and the house you passed on your left survived. And then they had cleared, or the tornado cleared it for them. This is a heavily wooded area. And so we wanted to help a career missionaries develop a training center to where people could come and be trained and sent back out. And I was telling my new friend here from Trinidad that he about a year into it, he said, I was thinking something about like around my dining room table, not this, 23 acres in a farm and all that. So the board decided to stay the course, and where we are today is 23 acres working and teaching farm, and we host events that cultivate spiritual growth and renewal. That takes lots of different ways. Events like this, there's a church that meets here. We have 25 weddings a year, retreats, conferences, all kinds of things. But the goal is that people would come and be refreshed and renourished and send them back out. So what we're doing today meets that mission that you guys are being informed, you're aware, you're excited, and you're going to go back out and change the world. And that's what we want to do. That's why we exist here. But I joined the team here full time September of 2023. So I've been here a little over 2 years, and I was working in HR at a desk job, staring at a computer all day. And my boss walked in one day and said, "Do you like this?" I'm like, "This is so miserable." And he said, "Let's figure out an exit strategy." That doesn't mean you're getting fired, but let's figure out a transition. And he said, "Why don't you go to the board and just say, hey, let me come work for New Water?" Because I'd volunteered since the inception. And it's probably one of the best things I ever did in my life. And now my wife, we live across the street. We moved here. We said, it wasn't just like, no way. It was like, oh, hell no, we're moving down there. And so here we are, when you plant your feet in the ground, God has some ways of moving you. And it's been the best thing we ever did. So I started out as the farm manager. My degrees are in agricultural engineering and music ministry, actually, too. So I'm a little all over the place. And then this last year, they asked me to be the executive director, so I kind of oversee a good bit of everything. But we started, this is funny too, we wanted to start a little farm to make some money to pay the light bill. We're going to make money in farming, right? So we picked these small plots. It's really kind of a hobby. I would say it's more like a hobby farm. So we grow blackberries, blueberries, Asian persimmons, muscadines, figs. We had a little apple plot that developed root rot fungus, and that was before I knew these guys. So we took them all out. You know, we could have cured them if I'd known what I know today. And then pears, and then we have a vegetable gardens. We have a kitchen garden, which we eat today from, and then we have a market garden that we sell produce from. And then we turn the fruits into jams and jellies and salsa and sell those products. So I'm happy for you to take some of that today too.
I will tell you this, I had blossom rot on my tomatoes and my bell pepper, banana pepper. We treated that and it got rid of the blossom rot.
Yeah, I have some of those stories too, and we're just barely into it.
Just this past year, it worked. And that's just spraying on blossom. I treated it 3 times. The period, once every 4 days, I spray the new blossom, and it's clear. If you've got a fruit that has already got blossom rot on, you take it off and dispose of it, and then spray all the new blossom 3 times within 7 to 10 days.
Oh, hello.
What?
Yes.
Okay.
Robert, can you give us a synopsis of that?
Yeah.
So, one thing that happened to us is in our blackberries, which is one of our major cash crops, is we were using heavily chemical and synthetic based integrated pesticide (IPM) recommended by the extension agent when we started. And it was, heavily on the nitrogen fertilizers, and then a lot of sprays. And because this is a very humid environment, warm, I mean, it's great for things like bacteria and fungus and mold and that kind of stuff. So what happened to us this year, in our blackberries, we have 1 acre and a third of Kiowa blackberries that are trellised. It's a hybrid strain out of Arkansas, highly produced, big berries. We measure about 8% sugar content. And on the picture you see on the left is yellow rust. And yellow rust is a spore. It's transported by the wind. I could be picking and touch it and go to another plant. And it, in a week, covered. And these plots are separated. We have wind here. And you might want to mute whoever's got going on, might want to mute their mic. And so it really just devastated our crop. And we had about a 30% drop in production. And we're already, I believe, about 50% of where we should be. We have just struggled. We should be in the 3,000 pound harvest. And we were, last year we had 1,800 pounds. And this year we were at 1,300 pounds because the rust took over. And what happens is it just saps the energy out of the plant. And our production just nosedived. And the current plan called for copper fungicide, and which you really don't want to spray when you got fruit on your vines. And so I said, help. I need some help here. And so Tom Strickland came up and spent the day here, and we looked at all the plants, and he recommended a pretty severe. We don't need to test the plot. You need to just treat it all. And so we went to a soil drench and then a foliar spray, which we combined with the NutriPlant 643 and the deer repellent, because the deer love to roam through here and strip the leaves, and that sets you back. So we took care of the deer. So we went to foliar sprays. I could put all 3 of those in my tank and make one pass. So I did a heavy soil drench at, I think we're at 4,500 parts per million. And then we're spraying at that dosage, and then we backed it off, stepped it down 2,500 and 1,200. And we sprayed, I think we did about 10 to 12 weeks of sprays for that. Now, the blackberries, what we do, so blackberries produces every other year. So you have your floor canes, that's what grows, and trellises, fruits. When those are done, we cut those vines and let the primocanes come up. And so we suppress the primocane growth, the next year's growth, to let all the energy go to fruit production. So that spore was in our soil, it's in our plant, and I mean, and here's the sad thing. If you don't spray, the recommendation is cut all your plants, dig them up, burn them, don't plant anything in the space for 3 years. That's pretty devastating for a cash crop farmer. So obviously that was the recommendation years ago for our apple trees. They had the root rot fungus. cut them out, burn it, get rid of it. Don't plant anything back there. So this recommendation with the magnesium hydroxide, with the additional fertilizers, you can see the difference on the left and the right. So this is the primocane coming up, and I will tell you, I work a lot in the blackberries almost weekly. I haven't done it in the last couple of weeks, but I've only seen about 4 plants that had any sign of yellow rust on it out of over almost 800 plants. Was all I had. So I feel like we got way ahead of it. We'll do another soil drench in the spring to make sure it's taken up in the plant. We did soil tests and we did plant. We didn't do sap analysis. We did plant leaf analysis, and all of our numbers were in the really healthy range. So we weren't over something and under something. The only thing I was telling Scotty was what we've done is we mulch with pine bark mulch from the chip mill up here. So our pHs, one block we had 5.2, second block was 5.5, and the other was 5.9. That's really low for blackberries because you want it to be between 6 and 6.5. So I switched over to 2 of the blocks now have hardwood mulch chips, and then I actually limed 2 of them to bring our pH up, and now we're in our low 6s to mid 6.5. So we had a pH issue, we had a soil issue, but we had a major outbreak of this fungus, and really feel like we're ahead of it. So you can see the health of the leaves. They're dark green. They've turned colors now because the frost has set in and the cold weather, so they'll turn a bronze color, and they kind of go to dormant stage. But before that all happened, we had the picture on the right of the health of our plants. It's night and day. It really is. And so we're back heading in a really good direction. So what I do want to add to that is this shift we've made to regenerative agriculture. And this fits in really important. One event we hosted last year, Buck was here, Scotty was on our panel. I'm not Buck. Bill was here, Scotty was on our panel. We did Ryan Montgomery was on the panel from Southern Prep. We showed the documentary Common Ground, which followed Kiss the Ground, which is the regenerative movement. And we invited the community. We had about 35, 40 community folks come all over the broad spectrum. And it was a 45-minute documentary on what is this regenerative movement we're hearing about? Conservation agriculture. And really, as you see it, you're going to go, wait, that's the way my grandparents farmed. And there was a 45-minute presentation with an hour and a half of Q&A at the end. And I will encourage you, books by Gabe Brown, Dirt to Soil, a book by David Montgomery called What Your Food Ate, you will become quickly aware. Scotty mentioned big ag and pharma, what's really going on, what's in our food, what you're eating, what the plants ate. And so people were like, oh my gosh, you gotta be kidding me. And so what I've done, and I grew up in Virginia, and we're now in Alabama in an agricultural state. I went to Virginia Tech, Texas A&M, majored in agricultural engineering, and I worked in, my research was in machine guidance, computer vision. It was before GPS, but I was part of the big ag in a land grant college, and they didn't talk about anything like this. And really, I think, as I would say, what regenerative agriculture, and I would say it's, if you think it's the restoration of relationship. There's a spiritual component, there's a human component, there's our self-awareness, but also there's the biggest one is the relationship to the ground, to creation. How are we stewarding what we've been charged with as agriculture folks, as farmers? And so regen it looks at the entire system, and Aggie may chime in, Allie may chime in really quick here. It's soil health and the entire ecosystem restoration. So much what's happened in, unfortunately, it's called conventional agriculture. It's laser focused on one thing. If you know about Will Harris and White Oak Pastures in Georgia, he was a conventional cattle farmer. And he said, I woke up every day thinking, what am I going to kill today? Is it a cow? Is it a bug? Is it a weed? Is it a pest? And he goes, wait, I'm a farmer. I should be talking about life. And he had this big switch. And it's got a great Joe Rogan podcast if you ever want to watch him. And he said, it's about focusing on the system, about life, and how everything is related. And when you start targeting one thing, you just create problems. And so it's looking at soil quality, increasing the biodiverse system, as Ali said, the biome, and it's the use of water more efficiently.
And there's also sorry, Robert, there's the overlap of the communal aspect. Your farm is not an isolated plot of land. It's right next to everybody else's land. And the more we come together as a community, the better impact we have on the totality of that land and the entire community.
Which one? Will Harris. Will Harris. Yeah, White Oak Pastures in Bluffton, Georgia. Real quick, they have about 215 people in town. He has a staff of 180. And before he started 25 years ago, he had a staff of 3. And now they're shipping pasture-raised beef, chickens, products all over the United States. He's got his own USDA processing center for 25 cattle a day. It's got quite the operation. And lots of videos about saving soil compared to his neighbors. Same as Gabe Brown up in North Dakota. So Joel Salatin is a great name to check out, Polyface Farms. But anyway, the key principle is to minimize soil disturbance. If you think about if you walk through a forest, nobody's plowing it, tilling it up, and it does pretty good, right? It regenerates itself. You've got the leaves that fall, compost is built, things grow up. So we've moved in our gardens to out here it's no-till, and we have very minimal till. We will move away. We won't till anymore. We just do direct. And so what you're doing, you're disturbing that top. Typically, it's not very far. If you deep plow, you're flipping the aerobic and anaerobic. So you're killing that entire section. Even disturbing the soil as much as 2 or 3 inches, you're breaking up that fungi, bacteria, healthy, mycorrhizal fungi system. You're doing that. The other thing you're doing, you're pulverizing the soil. Typically, when you till and stuff, you're leaving it bare, and the rain comes and that's what makes it like concrete. It's not dries out. It just pulverizes it and minimizes the pore space. So tilling, plowing, leaving that soil bare, not a good thing. The other thing is to maintain a living root in the soil. You mentioned photosynthesis. So when you don't have a plant, there ain't no photosynthesis going on. There's nothing entering that soil. And so keep a living root in the ground at all times. And if you don't have a cash crop per se, you want to cover that soil with a cover crop. Scotty now on his farm, we got a cover crop after we harvested the corn. So we've got, it's going to be, I like to say it's free fertilizer, pulling the nitrogen and carbon out of the air, and the photosynthesis cycle is putting it back in the soil, so it's free fertilizer. Plus, he's a little hilly, so we're going to minimize erosion, minimize soil loss. So cover the bare soil. And then the other thing, and Allie mentioned this, not just, it's a communal, but maximizing biodiversity. So why do we want that? If you look at any healthy system, you're going to see a lot of different things going on. Everything from the flora, the plants, but also the animal species. We've added pollinator gardens on this property. We actually had bees. And we were like, why aren't we making much honey? Well, if you look around, there's development, and it's just, they've taken all the bee food out. So they got to fly farther. They're like, I ain't sticking around here. I'm going over there to my friend Nelson's farm where he's got lots of pollinator species. So we started planting pollinator spaces around the farm as well. And then we're seeing more bugs, good bug species, more birds, more butterflies. And it's not just benefits to the plant, it's benefits to us. I mean, how joyful is it to go out and stuff's just humming, going all around. But also crop rotation, this just makes sense. Don't plant the same thing in the same spot year after year after year. Plants have different nutrient needs and uptakes. So you move that around. Our cover crops are a mixture of grasses and legumes. You don't just want nitrogen fixing. You want grasses as well, because it builds that biomass up and obviously healthier soil. This is a big one, minimizing and eliminating synthetic inputs. That's fertilizers, pesticides, insecticides, herbicides. A lot of times anything with the "ide" at the end. Anything with the "ide" is a flag for you, because you think of like genocide, all those bad words. So these are, we're kind of sold on the synthetic-based fertilizers that end up putting more salt in the soil than they do the good stuff. Our soil tests here indicated that we have a very, very high phosphorus content. I mean, it's in the soil test, it was EH, extremely high. That's the highest level. And the bad thing about phosphorus is it doesn't go away. If it does go away, it usually happens through water and erosion, and we're surrounded by a treasured lake. And so we're potentially dumping phosphorus in our great water source, which is going to kill the fish and blah, blah, blah. So we don't advertise that part. But and it's going back to things like composting and natural things. Magnesium hydroxide is occurs naturally. So minimizing those inputs. One story I have here is we started propagating our knockout roses just to plant more roses around the property. And so we trimmed those in February and we saved all the sticks. And the first year we did it, we had 80 additional rose bushes. So you figure let's just say they're $10 a piece. So that's $800 we went and bought them. They were free. And so we started planting around the property. And we've always had a high Japanese beetle infestation in our blackberries. Well, I noticed, I guess it was 2 seasons ago, I counted like 5 Japanese beetles the whole summer. I said, where are the Japanese beetles? Guess where they were? In their rose bushes. So we're like, oh, that's what trap crop means. So they attracted the beetles and they left our fruit crop, which means I didn't have to spray a pesticide. So there's some nasty things that, God's put in place that if we just honor those, it makes our life a lot better. The other one is integration of livestock and animals. We unfortunately right here don't have that yet, but Gabe Brown says bees and butterflies count. So I'm gonna check that one off the list. So they get lots of bees and butterflies. But you can see it's a system, and as Allie pointed out, it's not just about the plant and the land. It's about community. It's about people. Everything relationally is going to happen. So that's regenerative agriculture. I wanted to talk a little bit about the whole NPK: nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. These are important. We can't get away from them. Magnesium hydroxide is not a single bullet. You've really got to pay attention to the system. And here's why these 3 things are important. Nitrogen is a component of chlorophyll, which obviously is necessary for photosynthesis, energy production, and protein creation. And so it's going to build a healthy plant. And important to know this is about a balance. You can't just put one thing on. You got to kind of know what's going on. Phosphorus is energy transfer, photosynthesis, DNA, RNA. And also, this is really important, strong root development, stems, and the creation of the flowers, which obviously produces the fruit. So this past year, as I start to dive into this more, do more study, more research, what we've been doing in our blueberries, we fertilize them twice a year, once in the fall and once in the spring with a synthetic fertilizer. I didn't know a lot about this stuff. So I went to actually a foliar spray this past fall, which targeted bloom set. So you think, well, it doesn't bloom till the spring. Well, actually, the plant's getting ready for it now. So these things are important, not just the amounts, but the timing with which you do things. So we'll build stronger stems, stronger blueberries. We'll have a better flower, and we're going to have a better fruit, I believe. And then potassium is for plant growth. And this is really cool in that you can see 60 enzymes that are involved in photosynthesis. But incidentally, water regulation through stomatal opening and closing. The opening and closing of that flower is going to capture moisture and bring into the plant. So it's really important. NP and K is important. We're not saying this is bad stuff, y'all. This is stuff that's actually necessary, but there's a way to do it right. So NP and K are really important. So here's one thing I wanted to focus on. Over application is going to create problems. So I grew up with a little good, a lot's better, right? So let's just put more nitrogen because that'll be more growth. It works in Bermuda grass. It's going to work everywhere, right? Just dump on the nitrogen, dump on that chicken litter. I mean, just pour it on. But what happens is you create a problem because it'll attract pests, particularly things like aphids and mites. Because here's why: that nitrogen produces a rapid growth, and it makes the plant weak and succulent new growth. It's an easy target for insects. Plants with an unbalanced nutrition become stressed, which leads to a buildup of sugar and nitrogen that is appealing to the pest. So, I say nature doesn't lie. And so if you're in your garden or in a field and you notice a lot of pests, first question you might say is, why? Why is this bug here? Is this a good bug or a bad bug? And it could be that you have an out of balance nitrogen, which leaves these leaves going really fast. There's lots of sugar there for them because the plant can't process it. So fast-legged growth, it's more vulnerable. Nutrient-dense leaves, the sugar content that's on there, aphids love it. I mean, so here's what I teach here is that if you see a lot of ladybugs, you might look a little deeper because they're not just flying by. They're an indicator. And the thing is, even there's other issues too, not just the nitrogen, but poor watering pH like we had in our blackberries. That's going to stress that plant. Bugs attack the stressed plants. They don't necessarily go. They're going to go for the stressed one before they go to the healthy one. Let's see. So here you notice the yellow leaves. So here you go. So on the left side is excess nitrogen. The right side is a deficient. So you got both. Let's look at the deficient side. Smaller leaves moving down the plant. They start to yellow, and the yellowing comes from the bottom up. It moves up. So the lower leaves turn yellow. They continue to curl. You got premature flowering and a really low yield. So that's a stressed plant because of the deficiency of nitrogen. But on the right-hand side, the excess, you got that fast-legged growth, and you got weak stems. We got an issue here. We get 20, 30-mile-an-hour winds just like that. And we don't have a lot of trees. We don't have a lot of wind breaks. And so the wind can devastate our planting. The foliage, the leaves become weak. The greenness moves up, but the bottom leaves turn a really, really dark green. So that, indicators here. And then your transport of your nutrients, your water, it becomes weak and stressed. And it says the harvest tastes green. I mean, it's going to change the taste of the harvest. It's not going to be ripe and, great like that. So just, a quick reminder. So here, what do we do about that? Excess nitrogen that creates issues with pest control. First, you need to focus on your soil health and make sure you have a balanced biome, a program, integrated pest management. Like I said, pests aren't necessarily attracted to healthy plants, but also a diverse system. That's where monoculture is a challenge. So for us gardeners, homesteaders, we have the advantage we can do small plots and we can do a lot of crop rotation, but plant a diverse species. And you don't have to plant the whole thing in production. It could be in a cover crop. And it could be something that attracts them. Things like marigolds and herbs. They'll attract bugs. And so they're coming. We know they're coming. Let's put them over here and not over here. Give them something to eat. For the deer, you could plant a little green field and they'll stay over there. They're not coming in here to eat your pansies per se. I heard this statistic and I thought this is interesting. Diverse biosystems attract diverse species, particularly beneficial and predatory insects. And the ratio is for every good bug, there's 1,700 bad bugs. That's a pretty good ratio. So are we going to kill the bad bug? And most pesticides are not discriminating like you think they are. Take care of everything. This summer, we have summer interns from the Girls Ranch, high school kids that work here with us, and we do a lot of teaching. And it's just a lot of fun that, young minds, and they're like, they start out in the summer and they go, what's this? And I'm like, I don't know. What do you think it is? So they go figure it out and they go, hey, Mr. Robert, we found this predatory wasp and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah. So we were out here picking peas in the garden and there were three kinds of wasps. There were daubers and red wasps and and they were like, we need to get rid of those wasps. I'm like, wait a second. Why do you think those wasps are here? I don't know. I said, they're not even bothering you, are they? I mean, you're picking the peas, not even bothering. So, well, they're there because when you pick that pea, that plant exudes sugar, so they're feeding on themselves. But guess what else they're feeding on? Aphids. Wasps love aphids. Do not kill the wasps. And we don't have to spray. They're just doing their thing. So, yeah. So, diversity for your plants is going to help you create a biodiverse. So Allie mentioned about knowing what you got going on. It's really important to soil test. In the medical industry, I worked in the medical industry for a long time. They had, you don't go to see the doctor and he doesn't look, he just gives you a prescription, right? You know what that's called, right? It's called fraud. You got to have a diagnosis before there's a recommendation. The same thing in ag. You can make all kinds of assumptions, but unless you know what you got going on, you're going to make a bad plan. So soil test. And I would recommend the Haney test, Haney. There's only a couple of places that do that. Illinois does, Nebraska, and I think Texas has them. It's a little more expensive, but it will tell you everything you ever wanted to know, other than NPK and pH and a few micronutrients.
Doesn't Auburn do that too, down there?
They don't do the Haney test.
They test the soil for me over there in Fair Oak.
They'll do it for you, yeah. But let me tell you what the Haney test is going to give you. It's going to give you your organic matter content. It's going to give you your carbon and nitrogen ratios, all of your trace elements, molybdenum. I mean, all those numbers. It's 8 pages of data and recommendations. So like we did our soil test out here for the first time in a long time before we were doing it with the extension service. And they tell NPK and they go, you need more lime. You know, it's like they got this little cut and paste thing. The Haney test came back and said, your carbon to nitrogen ratio is a little out of whack. You might want to print more grasses for your cover crops as fall and legumes. But the great thing we got here is we got 5% organic matter in our soil, in our garden. If you have 1% in Alabama, you are like blowing it out of the water. So a 1% organic matter will absorb a 1-inch rain event, which sounds, that's kind of neat. That's 26,000 gallons in an acre. So a 5% organic matter will take a 5-inch rain, which is over 100,000 gallons of water in 1 acre. Real important for us. Here we sit on a ridge. There's the lake. So we want all our stuff washing away into the lake. So our garden can take a 5-inch rain without any runoff. The rows don't infiltrate because they're packed, because we have dedicated growing zones. But all of our beds, it never ponds. It doesn't matter how much it rains. So super excited about that. But we got it up by 5% by composting, cover cropping, don't move the no-till. We got that organic matter up, and we went from 1 inch. We got about a 6-inch, and we don't plow. When we flip a crop, we just cover it again with more compost. So organic matter and compost is really important to know. When several years ago, when I got here and my ag extension friend came out and I said, hey, I'd like to know my organic matter. He goes, what do you want to know that for? I said, well, I just kind of like to know. I didn't know about all this stuff, so I can't wait to tell him next time I meet with him and say, hey, guess what? But the Haney test, Haney. Again, it's about balancing. Not too much of this, kind of the Goldilocks, just right. You want to make it just right. And it's an ongoing thing. Last time we met, there was a gentleman here who farmed, and he said, I've been putting 50 pounds per the acre for the last 30 years. Should I change it? I'm like, what do you have going on? I don't know. Should you change it? I don't know. Maybe you should. But he'd never soil tested. So
well, and it's all about observation, which you mentioned before. Being able to presently observe what's happening is where you actually get the information from. And we do soil testing to like go deeper into that, but observation is where it starts.
Yeah. Legume cover crops of nitrogen fixing, more foliar feeding than just direct application, so the plant will absorb as it needs it when it needs it. We've been really pleased with our foliar feeding, or just spray, and because we can combine things, and it puts it right on the plant where it needs it. And the last thing I said is, crop rotation. So there are things that need more nitrogen, there's things that need more phosphorus, things more potassium. As you move those around, we move our garden clockwise every plant. And then it's really important too, what crops follow what you had there. So it takes some intentionality. You can't just keep sticking the same thing or randomly stick stuff. And you can do that if you want, but if you really want to be a good steward, I would recommend studying what you had, what would be a good thing to follow it. And we have tons of information accessible. Right? Back today we go to the library and look at the card catalog, pull the card. Y'all don't even know about that, do you? Yeah, so there's some things you can do. We're not going to see the farm. It's a little rainy. I could probably virtually tell you about it. So from here forward, Allie, y'all can't see this. There's really not much to see. From here forward is kind of our event. So chapel, cabins, this is lawn. We can roll the doors up and extend this whole indoor space out there. And then back as you came in is more of the ag dedicated space. I'm always campaigning, can I have more garden plots, please, to the board. But we have it's probably, I want to guess, about 4.5 to 5 acres of production. And, we trellis the blackberries, the muscadines, and the persimmons, and the pears. We trellis those.
Persimmons, I'm calling Fuji, or which one do you?
Yeah, Fuyu, yeah. F-U-Y-U, Fuyu, Asian persimmons. Yeah, and I measured the sugar content in the Asian persimmons 2 weeks ago was at 24%, which is pretty high.
Well, we had something with my muscadines, my bronze ones. They run about 14 to 16.
That's what we have to do, yeah.
This year, they were 18 to 20. My purple muscadines that are normally 18 went to 22%.
And Carl's saying
Yeah,
that
the ones I spray.
the ones he sprayed with the magnesium is increased sugar content. That's my,
22%.
so that's my goal is to, our blueberries are about 15 to 16%. I'm trying to move those to 20%. Our blackberries were at 8%, which is the same as the strawberry.
Well, that's great stuff on that bad sugar.
Yeah. And there's a lot of things you can do with them too when you cross that 12% threshold. Says the moonshiner. But
Maybe we could get my 50 pounds.
I got it right there. Yeah. So we've done small plot. I've gone into partnership with Scotty for the heirloom varieties out in Chambers County, next county over. We're doing that on our own, and I just want to tell you, it's been a blast to have my hands in the dirt every day. I actually I listened to a podcast yesterday. If you ever watched the Blue Zones, anything about the Blue Zones, they did studies around the world where the most concentrated populations lived to be over 100 and were healthy. For instance, there was a 103-year-old cowboy in Costa Rica, worked 10 hours a day every day on a horse. There were 90-year-old guys doing one-arm push-ups. And guess what a lot of it was related to was nutrition and work. And most of them had a connection to the outside. They had their hands in the dirt. So I saw that, your health automatically increases, your outlook automatically increases when you have your hands in the dirt. So I'm a proponent of get your hands in the dirt, get outside, soak up that sunshine. It's all good for you. So right now, this inside stuff's kind of killing me. But, being outside every day is a joy. And it's given me a lot of time to think about a lot of things. So I'll be 64 next month, and it took me that long to get here to the intersection of things I'm most passionate about. Resting heart rate dropped 15 points. I lost 25 pounds, and I'm on no medication when I moved to be on the farm. So go farmers.
Bravo, Robert.
But I want to tell you, there's a lot of things going on that are really, really good. And what, Allie talked about, relational healing, building. When people start looking at what's in their food, where it came from, they start to ask questions. And these questions lead them to finding people they can trust. And so I believe this whole regenerative movement is really helping to not just heal our land, it's helping to heal our people, not just from a health perspective, but how we treat one another and how we interact with others. And it's changing a lot of things. This is a pretty big deal. And I'm excited to be just a small part, just a learning and soaking it all in. And I never would have known this guy or half folks around this table had I not taken this journey. And just encourage you. There's a lot of people out there, they're asking and doing kind of what we're doing. So be encouraged. I just want you to be encouraged. And, I believe it's Dale Carnegie said something about this. There's two things that lead to success, and one of them's failure, and the other is disappointment. So embrace those failures that you might have and learn from them and just press on. Don't give up. Don't give up. So that's my quick farm tour. I don't know what's next, Scotty. What's next? I don't know why we have this slide with a bunch of French fries on here. Allie?
Are you guys ready for lunch, or are you going to continue presenting for a while?
Let's do it. Let's do a Q&A. Maybe they were air fried or something. I don't know.
I got to get a picture of your produce now. This was from the original production, so
Okay.
now that you got more on your table there, we can update. Everything that they're talking about today has been a work in progress, and we're literally having to walk through growth cycles of plants. So more and more of these presentations will have actual farm to table produce in front of the people who to come to these events, and you'll be able to taste the difference about what we're actually talking about.
Scotty, you want to take the Q&A part? Sure. I'm going to turn it back over to Scotty. I might go finish making sure lunch is ready. I might have an early lunch. And I tell you, I love Robert. I can sit. Yes. I normally couldn't sit in a class very long, but I could sit and listen to him all day. So let me move past this. Okay. So I'm going to right quick, talk about our products that we're using now. The first is the magnesium that we keep talking about. It's a Plentiful Harvest. It's a nanoplatelet form of magnesium. It's not a rod. It's not a sphere. It's not an ion. It's a separate entity. It's a patented process that we're all familiar with, and every plant is every plant, every person, everything is magnesium deficient, and this nanoplatelet allows the magnesium to stick with you a lot longer. I'll just put it like that. I'll read the script here. The purest magnesium hydroxide product we found. It has great benefits in soil and plants. It acts as a soil augmentation device and nutrient supplement. Balances the pH level. It is a pH inhibitor, so it brings everything to a balance. To bring it to a neutral state. Does not easily dissipate. The shape of the platelet and all that, the way it's created, that platelet tends to bond to the root structure of the plant. It allows plants to concentrate on growth and not defense. On its own has led to an increase of up to 65% yields in certain products that we've tested, with a minimum average yield increase of 25% across all the plants that we've tested so far. Encourages a more balanced ecosystem on your farm. Let me get past these three, and then we can talk about those if you guys have any questions about them, and then we can go back, whatever, to the products. The next one is the NutriPlant AG643. Key takeaway, it's naturally balanced foliar nutrition, strengthens the plant at critical growth stages while boosting resilience and yield. Delivers a 643 NPK, which Robert just got to explain to everyone here what that term is. It's the nitrogen, phosphate, and the potash or potash, ideal for balanced growth and development. Includes essential trace elements: sulfur, boron, cobalt, copper, iron, magnesium, molybdenum, and zinc in a water-soluble form, which is very key to what we're trying to accomplish here. It's designed for foliar application, rapid nutrient uptake, and improved efficiency even when the soil conditions limit root absorption. It targets key developmental stages to enhance plant vigor, fruit set, recovery from stress during critical growth and development. Stress resilience, it aids the plants in tolerating heat, drought, cold, insect diseases by strengthening the natural metabolic processes. When combined with the magnesium, that goes off the chart. Yield and quality focus proven in increased yield and quality, especially in crops facing environmental and nutritional stress. And it is very easily accessible for anyone who would be interested in using this or trying it. We'll get with you guys, and after this is over, and you can talk to us about it. Right now, I think, Robert, you're testing the Liquid Fence brand of the deer repellent, and it really works good. Hogs, we don't have any here, so I don't know. Yeah, we've not tested it against hogs, so it's a scent-based protection. It repels deer and rabbits before they feed. The odor deterrent activates without requiring plant to be bitten. It's a high potency formula. Contains 10.4% putrescent whole egg solids, 3.75% garlic, and 0.40% sodium lauryl sulfate, and 0.01 thyme oil for strong natural repellency. Plant safe and eco-friendly, safe for ornamental shrubs, trees, vines, non-toxic to people, pets, and wildlife when used as directed. Ingredients like egg solids and garlic contribute to trace minerals and amino acids that can gently nourish leaf tissue and support foliar health. Creates long-lasting scent barrier that resists light, rain, and outdoor exposure. Simply apply one time weekly for 3 weeks and then one time monthly through the growing season. Now we can go back and talk about anything you got. So I'm going to open it up to questions about any of these 3 products. Robert can probably answer with the liquid fence more than I can because I have not used it. We're not, we're high fenced on our vegetables and on our row stuff. They won't bother our row stuff. Corn, they won't bother it until it's ready to be picked. And then we have that little area, little window that we have to run out there and get it. Where they'll come in droves and tear it up. But any questions on the magnesium, the 643, the NutriPlant, or the liquid fence? Anybody got any questions on any of it? They are. That's right.
And
That is
Scotty, can you
this
repeat
is-
the question for us on here?
What she said?
Can you repeat the question for
My
us on
bad.
this
So
call?
the question was, are these 3 separate products? Yes, they are. There are 3 separate products that we combine as this system that we're using. We test other things, other systems, other fertilizers with the mag, but this, to us, this really hits the sweet spot that we need it to be in, because it goes back to that. If I've got a 1 acre garden here, that's one thing. If I got 1,000 acres and I'm putting a tractor in it 3 times, that's tanks of diesel fuel. So it's all about cost when you get into that big farming, that big ag stuff. I love the way Robert said that a while ago about big ag. They don't really like to hear this, what we're talking about here. Big ag does use 643 NutriPlant. Large farms use it. We're just developing a system using it, combining with this magnesium, the deer repellent. What that nanoplatelet, that shape of that magnesium, that nanoplatelet is very flat, so it allows that NutriPlant 643 to bond to it. It holds that fertilizer. It gives that fertilizer more of a time release on that plant because this magnesium does not easily wash away. It does not leach out of the soil. The only way to really get rid of it is to get it in a low pH environment, because it's a pH neutralizer. It won't spread, and that will deteriorate it if you do that. But that's the only way. So
And the working
Go ahead.
And the working theory on that we're seeing is that it does the same thing for the liquid fence deer and rabbit repellent. And so it's helping that product stay around longer too, which is obviously something we have to test over time. And for the person who was asking about repelling hogs, what I looked up was that using strong scents like cayenne pepper, garlic, predator urine, etc., which the deer and rabbit repellent has the garlic at least in it, as well as some of the other like harsh smelling things to animals, but they're all natural. You might consider testing that out and maybe adding cayenne pepper alongside it.
What he said was that they ate all his garlic up.
Oh,
They love garlic.
guess we'll have to keep looking.
My goodness. But anyway, so any other questions on the? And Scotty was saying about this. Picture this. And this is the only way I realize it, because I know Scotty and Robert are talking more about agriculture. I've done tests with other things that we don't need to get into, but basically with poultry and nutraceuticals that have been out of this world. But picture this virus. You have a virus and doctor prescribes you an antibiotic. A virus is here and antibiotic here. Well, the antibiotic attacks the virus. Well, they kill each other. That's what happens. A virus will kill the antibiotic, and that's how it wipes out. You may have to get a second dose of antibiotic. What happens with the nanoplatelet magnesium hydroxide is it's here. It's in this sphere type form. It attacks that virus, that fungus, and then it's alive. The virus can't kill it, so it bounces off and looks for something else. It stays alive because it has that coating protection on it. It doesn't get wiped out. So the longevity of it, and it just continues until its life expectancy basically is over, looking for something else to attack.
That's really my best way to describe how it works against like an antibiotic or something, and a fungus. It just continues to go until you dilute it. And that's a great thing about it.
Absolutely. You got a question? We're about to get into that one.
Hey, Scotty, this is Bob Montague. I may be the only representative from Nanotech on today. I just had a question about that first slide that showed the sunflowers, and it was on the magnesium hydroxide nanoplatelets. And you showed the side by side, the one row that was untreated and the row that was treated. The question is, was the 463 fertilizer used in both of the when treated, you mean treated with nanoplatelets and one not treated with nanoplatelets, but was the 463 used in both cases?
No, it was not. We did not use 643. I did not use 643. I didn't have access to it at that time when I did that testing. So the question was, I guess everyone could have heard it on the computer, but you all heard it. Did we use the 643 when we in the pictures of the sunflowers? No, I did not. I used a triple 13, a granular triple 13 for that. So fertilizers are, they, I say this: our fertilizer that we're pushing right now is the best that we've been able to come up with to use because of ease of application, because of availability. Cost is always going to be an issue, but for ease of application, the availability for us to have it, and the foliar application, I think, as Dr. Roberts shaking his head too, the ability to have that foliar applied. So we don't, when you put the granular fertilizer out, it just lays there on the ground, and it has to have a rain to activate it. So it has to have a little bit of rain on it. Then it goes into the soil, and it'll hit those top parts of those roots. Well, on a foliar applied, see, if you do a foliar applied fertilizer, it's taking it in from the leaves through photosynthesis, pulling it back down. So go ahead.
Hey, one thing I want to say about that. So we had a plot of blackberries, and we put them in initially. We did a pine fines incorporation of soil. Then we planted our plants, and then we covered it with landscape fabric. And what happened was in the lanes, we planted Bermuda because it was going to look beautiful. So that created obviously a maintenance nightmare. What happened to the Bermuda runners would get under the landscape fabric, go all the way across and come up on the other side, and we couldn't keep them weeded. So this past year, we took the landscape fabric out, widened our rows, cut the Bermuda, and remulched everything. You know what I found in a lot of places under that landscape fabric? Granular fertilizer. Yep. It never dissolved. It just sat there for years. So agree totally with that, the foliar spray.
Yep. It's that to us, that is the most efficient use of fertilizer to do a foliar. And we recommend doing a soil drench with the magnesium. It's very important to do a soil drench with it before we do anything. But I've noticed, and I did some testing on this with the corn this year, where I was able to spray the corn, and as I was going along spraying the corn, I had my spray wand, and I just do a little drench on each one of them, and that was a very quick, easy way to do that versus going out there and having to try to do the drench. But we need to understand that once we start building this soil, we build this magnesium into this soil, doesn't deplete, your fertilizer holds, your deer repellent lasts longer, and we are building that soil and giving those plants the opportunity. The key in this is we give those plants the opportunity to get out of that growth stage, accelerated growth stage, and get into a bloom set where they're about to produce. They get to do that much quicker. That plant is more supple, and it's less attractive to bugs. It's less attractive to insects and things like that that are going to come over there and destroy it. So we recommend this system. This is the best one we've found. I have always noticed, as Robert was saying, in use of granular fertilizers, you're wasting a lot of fertilizer because it's going to lay there
it has to be melted first of all to get down into the soil. Well, if you're let's take that into perspective. If I have an open field here and I've got a row crops, and I've got fertilizer, now when you're planting, let's just say corn or peas or things like that. When you're planting them, you drop fertilizer under them. So when that seed germinates, the first thing it does is hit that little patch of fertilizer and it's able to, it's got something to eat. So I tested that theory too. And I went ahead and planted, and I did not put fertilizer under them. When they got to 3 inches, I hit them with this foliar fertilizer. I got the same effect as I did with the ones that we planted conventionally, where we put fertilizer under them. So Robert and I did things a little different this year because we were in a hurry. But so anyway, but it was it was a learning experience. But we've definitely come a long way in our testing, in our research. We're still researching. As Robert was talking about the corn, the germination of the corn, we're seeing that if we drench these seeds or we soak these seeds with magnesium, we're getting a better germination out of them.
The only thing I'm concerned is how long that magnesium will stay in there and be good when I try to process it the other way.
Yeah, we got to talk about that one.
One of the things I'm going to do with this Jimmy Red corn is we're going to make basically a grits out of it too, a fine ground grits, and of course ground grits and a fine ground grit flour too. And that's what we're trying out of. The other thing is for the distillery process to see how it does with some of my other products.
We've done some of the grinding. I made a coarse ground bread and a cornmeal flour, and they haven't had cornbread with flour last time we met.
Wow.
We did. It was delicious. I hate you guys missed it. So we measured 14%. What we were talking about is last time we had lunch, Robert made a cornbread out of the James Island red corn, and it was delicious. Sweetest cornbread I've ever had. Go ahead.
On there, so which kind of questions I have, one is when you come out water and help them show them, and I know you get different times, but what kind of water flush?
I use
the magnesium is already coming the liquid form.
You want to do that? So the question is what? Yeah, what was my water source for the seed soaks? I used rainwater. We collect it in a barrel.
So it's 6.5, 7 inch pH, you think, in it?
It's probably 7. Got to be rainwater. Don't know what's in the air around here.
Or well water, but just to the efficient ones, we didn't use city water.
That's what we use. When I did my testing, we used well water.
Well, that's what I.
Yeah. So
you don't want any.
We just don't. You don't want any heavy metals and things like that in your water. It'd be sufficient, yes. The question was, would the rainwater coming off the roof be sufficient? And yes. It doesn't have anything that ends in I and E in it. Like yeah. Chlorine, bromine, chlorine. That's right. So, the next one? Just letting it go, like in ornamentals. So the question was, have we had an issue where we hit me with that one more time, where we did not pick the fruit off the plant, we just let it go? Yeah, you can't.
I did.
Yeah.
So
if you don't pick this stuff continuously, then yes, the weight of the fruit will destroy the plant. It's rejuvenate when it come back.
Yeah, well, if the plant itself, the fruit being so large, will that then be seeded and disseminated by the other animals that are seed naturally?
I've never seen it do that. I mean, so you got to remember, most of the stuff that we plant are seasonal. So with, you wouldn't have a chance, it'd be next year when that pepper plant would germinate. So to answer your question, we've not been able to allow any of those plants to just go without picking, because if we do, they'll fall apart. And I'm going to show you why here in a minute. Yes, yes.
Is this some of the small tomato plants I keep in my boxes around my carport? You know, they were cherry tomatoes and we didn't pick, you know, they fell off at the end of the year. And last week I noticed about 5 tomato plants.
Yeah.
This big.
Yeah.
I guess.
Tomato plants will.
And those were all treated with.
Carl was saying that he had noticed that some of the tomatoes had come up from a seed that just fell off on the ground. Tomatoes will do that, and they'll germinate very quickly. Go ahead, sir.
When you talk about the 643, I believe Robert said that the 643 is natural, it's not made with petroleum products, correct? Versus others.
I don't know the answer to that, but I think the question is the NutriPlant 643 based on synthetics and unnatural product for its production? And I think it's not certified organic.
That's not organic.
But I don't think it has a petroleum product.
I don't think it has a petroleum product. Nitrogen is. Yeah, I'd have to. Yeah. Yep, that's a great question, then. We'll add that to the database of questions that we need to come up with answers for. So let's move on to these pictures. Hey, one other thing, let me comment. So years ago, when I was doing some brush eradication at our house with mostly it was English ivy, I sprayed a product called Garlon 4. It's what the forestry guys use with a helicopter spray of clear cut. And actually what it does, it doesn't necessarily kill the plant. It puts the plant in super growth mode, and the plant starves itself to death. That's how a lot of these chemicals work. So to your question about letting it go, I think it's going to be a nutrient availability question. If it just keeps going and producing, does it starve itself to death? Yeah, great. So this picture is some strawberries. This strawberry plant is a mother plant. We've been growing these for about 3 years now. They've been treated with magnesium. The same rust that affects these strawberries is what Robert had on his blackberries. And the reason we found out all this information on the strawberry plants is because there was a strawberry farmer down in Florida that did some of the first testing with the magnesium product on his fields, and he came up with some interesting finds. One is that, as you can see from this picture, this is in the middle of July in Alabama. And this is not in Alaska. This is in Alabama in July. You see how healthy that plant is. As a matter of fact, it's still producing. And the temperature on that day that I took that picture was 94 degrees. Now, most strawberry plants are dead by that time. So the mag allows the plants to have more drought and heat tolerance, much more drought and heat tolerance. Cool thing about this picture, man, the little guy over here. So I don't know if anybody knows about strawberries, but strawberries, the mother plant will send these runners out. And when it hits the ground, it's like an air root. As soon as it hits the ground, it'll pull a new plant in the ground. And it just continues like that. Well, the little guy on the right side, that guy's never been treated. That guy is a runner or a clone that came off the mother plant, and it picked up the properties of the magnesium in the middle of that. So this has been treated with the mag, but this has not been treated. It's still 94 degrees, and it's still alive. So that plant carried into those clones that magnesium and that ability to have that stress, that heat stress and that heat resilience to it. An interesting find. And the fact that there's still, you see how little one thing you can tell, I'm not joking about this, see how little that berry is? Man, this time of the year, these plants are under extreme stress at 94 degrees in the middle of summer. But they're still here and they're still wanting to produce. And we got some interesting results on some of the other stuff, strawberry wise, but we had strawberries as big as a tomato. I can show you guys those pictures. So these are some bell peppers that we treated. That's what you were talking about right there. You see that? That's it right there. These were planted in the field, and these guys were our control. No, these guys were our treated ones. So same day they were planted, all planted at the same time. This is our not treated in the field. This is our bell peppers that we treated. We probably lost 50% of these. So we had a 50% reduction in yield on these bell peppers because of this blossom rot. And I did not treat it with the conventional stuff because copper sulfate. I don't like to use copper sulfate, so I did not treat it. Plus, my drinking water source is on my land. So they've poisoned our land for years, so I don't want anything else in my water. But these guys that were treated, that bell pepper plant produced 325 bell peppers. Now, most bell pepper plants will only produce 10 to 20, maybe 15 bell peppers at the most. And the only reason it quit producing, and this was to answer something, getting into your question there, the only reason it quit producing is because it got killed by the frost. So it would have went into perpetual blooming, perpetual producing, and yielding continuously. That plant would still be doing that. That's unheard of with these 325. It would be. It would be. We planted again this year. We did the same test so we could get some different. We were trying to get some different pictures and stuff. We knew what it was going to do, and it's amazing what this stuff does. What I want to show you here, real quick, see that bloom right there? See how mature all of these are, but you've got a bloom. That's nothing. If I drew back on this picture, there's 40 more blooms on that.
It's just like I said with my muscadine. They only bloom once a year. Mine bloomed 4 times this year. The one set.
So this is a bell pepper. Look, if I would love to say every one of those bell peppers is like this, but it's not. They don't all get this big, but a lot of them get this big if they're allowed to. We pick them a little earlier anyway because we need to get them off the plant. This is a treated bell pepper versus an untreated bell pepper. That weight is 7.81 grams, and that one is 3.87. So it's almost double the size of that other bell pepper. And this is a treated. We see this a lot with these when we treat this stuff. That's average. That's an average bell pepper. You're going to go to the grocery store and get him. He'll be about that size. This guy is a monster. Totally different. The flavor of these is completely different than anything you've ever eaten on bell pepper. It's amazing. The question was on the bell pepper that size, on the seeds, have we had any mutation? I did not collect those seeds out of that bell pepper. So to test and see what it would do. Visibly, no. Look just like any other bell pepper. Just like any other bell pepper you've ever seen. Same seeds. The seeds were the same size as the untreated. Lot more seeds. Yeah, because it's bigger, it's going to have more seeds. Yeah, it doubled the amount of seeds. So these are Roma tomatoes that we did some testing on. As we were talking about before, I want to get into something here. So this is which one's treated, which one's not. This is the treated, this is the untreated. You can see with the tape measure the differences, but look at the size of these plants. I wanted to show you on these bloom clusters. Typically, there'll be 3 blooms to a cluster on a tomato plant. And from those three, you're probably going to get one tomato. You're going to be lucky if you get two. What we noticed in some of these bloom clusters, we're getting 5 to 7 blooms per cluster, which is double typically what we normally get. And we also are getting 3 to 4 tomatoes per bloom cluster. No, you see that piece of wood right there? The question was, are those stalks strong enough to support that? Absolutely not. We have to stake them. We have to wrap them. If not, that the weight of that fruit will just destroy that plant. Yeah, that's right. The stalk gets bigger, but it's still a tomato plant's just not strong enough to hold it. All right, run that. I'm so hard to hear. Say it again, baby. Okay, so the magnesium question was, how is the magnesium developed, and has there been any other studies? So we are about to do a big test with calcium mixed with this product. Matter of fact, we're about to start on it in the greenhouse up here at New Water. But so the manufacturing process of that magnesium is all proprietary. I can't discuss it. I don't even know it. But I know something about it, but I just can't discuss any of that. It's a patented product. It's patented out of Fort Walton, Florida, by a company called Nanotech. They developed this, and we are sales representatives for them. So we are the ones that are able to supply that to whomever. But right now we're just in the beta testing phase on this whole system. So we can give you some for testing, but we can't. We're not ready to sell it yet because we've got some other testing we want to do, especially with calcium. Yes, sir. What is the magnesium? What now? Process? Oh, okay. I understand. Okay, so right, right. So let me. No, brother. I'm with you now. Hey, this PowerPoint's about as technical as it gets with us, because we do have our hands in the dirt with it. So the majority of this process is just trial and error. Yeah, I mean, it's like anything else. We test. We know the stability of the magnesium. We know what it'll do. There again, so when we tested with granular fertilizers, when we tested with other like liquid fertilizers, we didn't like those. So we found this system that we could use, and this is one we like. So it's a dry fertilizer. The question was, what is granulated triple 13? It's a dry form of fertilizer. And there's more than, so that those three numbers that Robert went over, the NPK, that's the numbers of percentage of nitrogen, potassium, phosphorus, potassium that are in that. That's right. So it's granular. That's right. And then you don't just have triple 13, you got triple 17, you can get 1700, all type. This is just the reason I use triple 13 is because typically when you're growing corn and things like that on the farm, you're going to use triple 13. It is the most balanced fertilizer you get, just what you need right there. It is. That's exactly what it is, like an all-purpose fertilizer. That's right.
And I don't know if that matters, because I do realize there are some plants that we like to have certain attributes.
The sugar content really is only affected by fruit more than just that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the question was about the sugar content, and the nutritional values and things like that with the testing of the sugar content in these vegetables and fruits.
We haven't tested or measured any of that. Correct me if I say anything wrong, because this is what we're supplement develop.
Yeah.
So the first step was to invite a few select people who are willing to follow us back testing procedure.
Gotcha.
Which we're calling
Okay.
agri-harvest protocol.
Agri-harvest.
Okay, agri-harvest solution protocol.
Okay, you added another word. Thank you.
That is, like right there, it is agri-harvest.
That's me. Let me go on and move through this, and we can talk about all this at lunch. So we don't get in the rabbit hole if we're not careful. All right, so this guy is he's about 5'4", and that is a Better Boy tomato plant. That is one Better Boy tomato plant that was treated. It does look that way. It does look. I mean, it is huge, and this particular plant, I think we stopped counting around 200 tomatoes. Once we pulled about 200 off, I just didn't have time to keep counting tomatoes because we were pulling them so fast. It's every day we're harvesting a hatful of tomatoes, literally. So it's just one after the other coming off of it. And then I did notice this about this plant. It produced this, what I would call the typical run for tomatoes, where they do the big, the veg state, they bloom, they produce, and then it kind of stopped for just a second, and I reapplied, and as soon as I did, we had a new veg state that happened. I wasn't able to get the rain leaves off this, so some of these aren't the producer, aren't going to produce, but I let this thing go, man, just so we could just see how big it would get in a season, and that's how big it got. Hang on just a second. Whoop, man, can I go back?
Has anybody got anything with my apologies?
Go ahead, man, any question.
Has anybody got anything with my apologies? You're
No.
talking about the fruit and the fact that you just reapply and refruit, and I'm sitting there thinking, like, that sounds like rain on the helium.
Robert is actually getting into some of that mycology stuff. So let me jump on over here. So this is a pepper plant that I drought stressed this year. This is when I was rehydrating it. I went out there about dark and rehydrated because it kind of looks weird. But you see how wilted that plant was. That plant was dead. I had left this plant without water in the middle of the summer, which was just here recently. I had left this plant for 4 days without water. Boom, it just dropped everything there. But it didn't lose its fruit. That's amazing, isn't it? But there was 20 days later. This picture was 20 days later, that same plant. That is the same plant. It was. So I let it come up to this stage. We picked fruit off of it, and I ate tomato sandwiches off of it all summer. And then as it got to this stage, I said, okay, I'm going to drought test it. So I didn't water it, and this was back when we went through that little drought phase that we had here recently. And this guy suffered. I think it was about 90 degrees around there when I did that. So, but then I watered it and brought it back. And the cool thing about it is, and you can't see it there, but it's got blooms on it. This thing's rebloomed. ready to go. It never really dropped its fruit that it had. We had picked some stuff off of it. That red you're seeing right there is where I had not picked those peppers, and I had allowed them to just kind of go. I'll just let her go. When I don't want it, I'm gonna see if I can kill it. And I brought it back on the 5th day, and 20 days later, that's what she looked like. The frost just killed it about 2 weeks ago. So we were able to revive that plant. We brought her back to life. And this is one of the last ones I'm testing now. I'm in the this is a cabbage plant that I'm testing as we speak. And this picture's about a month old, I think. But you can see, hey, tell me which one's treated and which one's not. So if I had to guess, I would say it's the big one. But so here's the cool thing about that. I did this on purpose. When this picture was taken, I had not treated this plant. Only the soil was treated. So I have since then sprayed this plant and treated it put fertilizer on it, and with the 643 and the we got to get some more pictures. But I did this to show that this was residual magnesium that was left in there, and 643 was still in there because I had just pulled the tomatoes out when I planted these. So that's a good example of that longevity of that stuff staying in the soil. All right, and I think that may be. This is some kale. You can see the difference in the kale. I like to show these winter plants too because we're growing these in wintertime. We don't have all that nice heat and sunshine that we have in the summertime. So again, this is not treated. Only the soil is treated. Since then, they have been treated, but that is just showing what that magnesium will do and how it will retain in that soil. That's building your soil. Of course, that's potting soil, and it's a great soil, don't get me wrong. But you see the difference in one that's treated and one that's not. And that red color right there, that's just natural for them. You plant them, you plant these in September, October, there, so it's still kind of hot. So you got to keep them kind of moist. We have a weird transition around here this time of year, transitioning into winter plants. And I think that's it. So I'm going to finish this up. The agri-harvest community, we're here to start a movement. How you start a movement? We're doing it right now. Unite as a dedicated community of like-minded individuals. Spark meaningful shifts in the global agricultural environment. Revitalize, renew, and sustain. I love that, actually. And Robert got me on that. I got to give him kudos for that one. I was an old-fashioned farmer, man. Tear it up. Let's go. Put a bottom plow on it and turn it over. We're going to plant it again. And he has changed my mind on that. Consciously create systems that boost yields, health, and taste. There we go. Better use of our resources, both physically and financial. Grow more food in the same amount of space. That's where I want to stop at right there. This system will allow anyone to take a small amount of dirt and produce large quantities on it.
I'm fixing to start doing hydroponics.
That's a whole different ballgame.
That's what's going to blow people's minds when I start that.
Come on, Holmes. You got to answer this question. Okay, so I know where he's going. So the question was on the trichomes, and we don't usually get those questions about tomato plants. We usually get those questions about cannabis plants. but as Barry says, how do you grow? If you grow a better tomato plant, you can grow a better cannabis plant. So they grow the same. And yes, sir, we have all kind of information on that. It'd be right here, brother. We'll talk about this later. But, that was a good question, though. Yeah, the answer is yes.
35 to 65%. Yes. 35 to 65%. Yes.
That yield increase,
Yeah.
that carries over to that industry also.
And you're shorting cycle.
Yeah, shorten growth cycles. You got to remember that. You have to remember those growth cycles.
Hey, you can have a vacation actually.
Yes, you can. Cool. So, if you want to talk about that, that's separate. Yep. That's a separate slide. Hey, let me say one thing. I think this question wasn't asked. This question wasn't asked, but I'm going to ask it. Why is magnesium necessary? What does it actually do? So all living things need magnesium, plants, animals, and humans. And my understanding is it aids in nutrient uptake. It's the conduit for the plants to feed themselves and for regeneration. That's the biggest thing. Yeah, essential for carbon bonding. So yeah.
So 2 questions with that. One, where is the magnesium coming from? Are we robbing Peter to pay Paul?
No.
How are we creating magnesium at this point?
It takes a lot of electricity, a lot of pressure, and
We're
a
actively
lot of water.
So
As far as we can go into
It's not
that.
man-made, it's coming from a natural product.
Yeah.
Which is endless.
It is in it.
We've learned how to read.
I could tell you one thing.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I think they should keep it. What is the first goal? Yeah. okay.
magnesium, natural occurring product.
I think you're gonna say
It's just
the
efficient.
world contains 75%.
Say that again, Carl.
The world contains 75% of it.
Well, it's magnesium.
Where's the other 25%?
Solid.
It's solid. We can't get into it because.
I'm gonna turn this around.
We cannot, no matter how many times you ask us this question, we cannot answer that. We just tell you it's endless and it's natural. It's good.
So.
And it doesn't hurt anybody.
Robert, thank you.
You already know the Asian beetles that look like ladybugs, but they're orange and they bug.
Oh, yeah, they are.
Yeah, it's an Asian kind of fuzzy. We had them in our house.
Does this deter them? That's all right. So what about this make any difference?
So, that's.
Question about ladybugs.
That ladybug, as Robert said earlier, he said, look for those indicators. If you see a bunch of ladybugs, you got a problem.
Yes, so now I'm wondering.
So what we're seeing is we don't see as many ladybugs because we don't have the pest problem.
Right. But was it the magnesium that helped that, or was it something else?
So
it's
a healthier plant, so bugs don't go after healthy plants. The supplement of that plant is less attractive to them.
Okay.
What I was thinking too is excess nitrogen, over applying the nitrogen fertilizer.
So then with the don't plow cover crop, where you turn it over and then you put fertilizer on top of that, and then you are you not oversaturating in that time? Maybe I'm.
Well, we're not disturbing the soil.
Okay, right.
But by laying a layer of thatch or compost on top, it's going to naturally decompose.
Which then creates almost like the bed, the raised bed. Yeah, you create almost like a raised bed.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. That's basically what you're doing. You're building a raised bed out of soil.
For people who are more used to things like hugelkultur mounds and things like that, you would be getting the same nutrient breakdown in a natural environment. I live in the jungle, so I'm seeing these nutrient breakdowns happen, everywhere around me. But we're talking about crops and lands over there that have nutrient deficiencies. So when they're putting that back in, they're not having too much runoff. They're not losing as much as the nutrients because of the platelets.
Oh,
Is this it?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, we lost her. I tripped over the phone. Yep, we're back.
There we go. Okay.
You lower the camera a little bit again.
We got you. We got you live again, Alice. Go
Oh,
ahead.
did you hear what I said?
They want to hear what you had to say about
Okay.
Helical.
So people who are accustomed to permaculture methods like hugelkultur mounds and things like that, you're getting a nutrient breakdown that's in that same location. I live in the jungle, so I get to see that everywhere here, but we're talking about farmers in the US where their soil has been pretty severely depleted. And so the idea of being able to hold those nutrients longer in the soil has been a benefit to their situation. Robert Brandon has talked in the past about how over time he used the magnesium less because his soil has retained it longer. So the nutrient hasn't, as long as you're observing your plants, you're not going to overload them. But the key to all of this regenerative growing is observation and truly living with your plants and understanding the changes that they're going through. When you see the bugs, that's a sign. When you see yellow leaves, that's a sign. What do we do in response to that? And as our network grows, I think that's ultimately going to be where the information kind of comes out is how do we talk about these really obvious situations that are happening on our plants and talk about them more as a community so that we can make those minor adjustments day to day. Because what's working on Scotty's plants in one part of town is going to be a slightly different need than what's working on your plants in a different area.
Goes back to monitoring your soil.
Can you please ask Ali about her process she's performed with the executive?
Ask her what kind of cross testing
She's performed.
she's performed. We want to know what kind of cross testing you've performed, Al.
Sorry, can you ask that again?
Type of cross testing that you've performed. Have you
The-
done it?
You're asking about the type of testing that we use for the soil?
Is that what you're asking?
No, when you've been working with these crops, have you tried adding other nutrients in addition to these products? Have you done your own independent experimentation?
I'm sorry, the audio is too far away.
No, it's okay. I don't think Walter's done a lot of the cross.
We gotta get a microphone next time.
She was asking for additional inputs for your testing, cross testing, and expansion of testing. What some of that composed of, some of the inputs that composed of.
Oh, okay. So when I've been testing, a lot of what I do is very eyes on the situation. Like I'm an actual researcher. I did genetic researching what seems like a lifetime ago now. So I started with the whole microsciences. I needed to pay attention to those micro levels of everything. And as much as I believe the platelets are important to this scenario, my history comes with just basic observation. When I moved down here to Belize, I started paying attention to what's happening in the soil. You might have seen a video that goes around the internet quite often about like three different compartments where they put soil, and they put soil that has been left and has all these different plants growing and a great root system, and they put something that's kind of middle of the road there, and then they put something that's looking a lot like the soil of our farms in the US where they have no density to the soil, there's no clay value, there's just constant erosion, and the test shows when they add water how much of the soil actually ends up in the water that runs off. I think that's a great precursor test for most of the farmers that we're talking about. And beyond that, magnesium testing, I'm not actually sure what's available in the US, but suppleness of the plant is a really good indicator as to how high the nutrient uptake is. And I would recommend magnesium to be a part of that supportive system simply because of what I know of how it improves the ability for our own bodies and plants to take in nutrients into our actual cellular composition. So. I hope that answers that. But I also have a list of different tests that I've seen people do that are more organic minded, are outside of the scientific laboratories, but things that you can do with a jar in your house and things like that that give you a lot of answers for a short period of your time.
Cover crop control and building up good soil. Because those have been paired with the magnesium, okay? And when they die, they then also become highly enriched food for the soil, just like the pathogens of that.
Allie, did you hear that?
No, sorry, dear.
You're asking us we cover crop, and those cover crops have been infused with things like the magnesium hydroxide. Do those elements remain in that plant and become integrated into the plant life as that cover crop decomposes?
Yes, that's actually my favorite thing about the magnesium. And I'll tell you from my experience in the past, I'm not a person who buys product. I came to live in the jungle for that reason. Like I can get what I need right here. But what I love about the magnesium specifically, and what I'm helping farmers with down here now, is having that extra boost of magnesium. I'm seeing the same kind of results. The longevity of having the magnesium in the plants is multi-generational through plant life. So even when those crops die off, because especially because you're keeping a cover to it, if you're not taking the plants away after they die off, the nutrient intake into the soil is exponentially better. And there is a study, Robert Brandon, maybe you have seen it. I think it's associated with one of the regenerative farmers that you've mentioned. That there was a study where they like paid attention to how much nutrients were left in the soil after crops were harvested, and after full die off of the plant, and into the next season. And there, I mean, if you look at the jungle, it's kind of the same principle. When the leaves fall on the ground, they decompose in place. Their nutrients are being left into the soil. Everything dies on the ground there, so it's being leached into the soil, and then new plants are growing out of that. If we don't disturb the soil as much and we keep a nutrient balance, which in my case is going to be like leaves and foliage that I lay on the ground. In some farmers' cases up there, they're still going to be doing monoculture practices. They're not going to do permaculture layouts across their soils. So this is just kind of a way to get those nutrients back in. But if you do leave the crops down, if you do bring in other foliage and let it decompose in place, you absolutely do get a great deal of nutrients from that. And the longevity of the soil is amazing.
The flip side of that, Barry, is what we're learning a lot now is that things like hay and straw that I might buy at the hardware store or the feed store to mulch my crops. The question is, was this sprayed with Roundup?
Yeah.
Because we've been led to believe that Roundup is not soil borne. It's just on the plant. That's a lie.
It's everywhere. Yeah.
On the straw that I might buy to mulch my plants, and it's going to, guess what? It's going to be in your soil. So that's.
If I understood what you said, is different from studying, we're talking about is exponential.
Yeah, I'm just at the forefront of that, so I can't answer that question. But I do know that when I cover crop, but I didn't use the magnesium. Great benefits. Quick story. So I haven't. I cover crop, but I haven't done the magnesium infused. I did a cover crop on some expansion of a market garden. I covered it in summer crops as sunflowers and all kinds of turnips and all kinds of stuff. So when I terminated it, I just took the lawnmower and just drove over it and kind of mulched it up. And then when I seeded my fall cover crop, there's 100% difference in the height and the germination where I seeded with the previous cover crop. That I drug it. I didn't kill it. I drugged the tiller over just to drag it. And I was like, oh my gosh, look at this difference. So that's another thing about cover cropping. Yeah.
You're also keeping more water in the soil.
We have a test now that we're doing on the cover crop at my farm, where we just sprayed 3 acres with this combo of a cover crop, the one you planted. So we're interested to see what's going to happen.
What's the cover crop?
Which one did you plant?
It had been it was like a four-way. It was winter wheat, oat, brassica, lettuce, and then I think there's either rape or some like a mustard in there, a little bit of mustard. So, and I think it had a clover, it had a legume in there too.
That's what you mean when you say grass, it's not just red clover, you something wheat.
Yeah, wheat, barley, oats. Yeah.
And two things. Oh, sorry.
Go.
Just curious about your compost composition.
It's whatever I have on the property that I get rid of.
Is this all of your irrigation property?
Yeah, so we cut the pampas grass down at there. We put that on there. All of our vines, nothing that's really woody and thick. Leaves, we just break up all the leaves and put them on our compost pile. I purchased composted leaf mulch from the city of Mountain Brook. It's been about 3 years composted. It's basically like black common manure, and I do a lot of that. And then we incorporate sand for some aggregate. We have minimal pore space with the clay soil, but it's everything but food scrap. Cooked food. Over some to we have a small thermal compost here in the garden. I'm not fully thermal yet, but it's a layer of 45% green, 45% brown, and a 10% legume or a nitrogen soil. I don't have any manure, so I use field feeds. Well, not geothermal, but the thermal composting. So it'll be a 4x4x4 cube, and then we layer it, and then every 2 weeks we flip it, and then rebuild it. So it's just starting to do some of that. Yeah, we're trying to not. We typically would burn everything, burn all our vines and clippings. But now we're like, no, let's put them on the pile. So, we have a mushroom company up the street. I get their old spent blocks. So I'll put the old mushroom blocks for the mycorrhizal fungi. And, turn it all up. And, yeah. So this last year, that compost pile was as big as a Volkswagen, and it reduced down to really probably a fourth of that. I top dressed a lot of these beds, and I had a lot of really other plants come up, like tomatoes, volunteer tomatoes. So I pulled a bunch of them and put them in the greenhouse, and they just started blooming. And so I got one or some testing with magnesium, but just be mad to see that. Yeah, the calcium is necessary for water. Water is really important in tomatoes. So, all right. Any more questions? What do you guys think? Let's eat. I'm gonna get the food.
Did that once before.
You guys see my arm right there? All right. Thank you guys for joining us today. Anyone here have any more questions?
Yeah, this is Bob Montague again at Nanotech. Can I be sure to get a copy of the recording to me at houseofmontague@yahoo.com, and also to Scott Newbold, the president of Nanotech. And he's at Scott@nanotechresources.com.
So
That happens.
we're always
Okay.
we're continuously in contact with Nanotech. We've got everybody's.
Okay. Thanks, Guy. Thank you.
Thank you,
care.
guys.
You bet.
All right. So because they didn't break for lunch today and they just went through the whole presentation, unless you all on the Zoom call have any other questions, then we can probably close out our Zoom call.
Thank you, Allie.
Bless you guys. Thanks so much for all you do. Enjoy your lunch.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you guys so much for coming out today. Have a wonderful day. We'll be in touch in the near future.
Okay.
Guys, aren't gonna stay in You need to go to community all the time, you know.
My wife had safety shipping fence.
But what I'm getting at,
This is Go down the coast. I was listening.
so he actually works full time. I'm a student. Yeah, as long as you, he's not one when I should see, Las Vegas. It's not. When you met Monica, then, all right.